extension of the eStaker community that is kind of growing to focus on tool building in addition to like education around learning how to stake on Ethereum. And so I would say like our primary goal at Stakehouse is to build tools that either lower the technical bar to staking or just largely like promote the health of the beacon chain. So that can come in any number of factors, whether it's creating more transparency around like client diversity data, or working with other projects to support multiple clients, or building a tool that checks what ports you have open so you can check and see if your machine's configured properly, things like that. And so this community call really is, its purpose is just for people to come here and have a central place to share ideas about how we can accomplish both of those goals, and for people to share what projects they're working on, and maybe even like find some collaborators. So in previous calls, the last few that we've had, like we found forged some synergies between different projects and how we can actually integrate and work together on things. And so yeah, it's just a group of people that are interested in the same thing, working on open source software, trying to help the Ethereum ecosystem and make the beacon chain as healthy and strong as possible. So without further ado, I guess anybody have any like initial questions or anything like that? Sweet. So why don't I jump right into the agenda? Let me snag the agenda here and I will drop it in the Zoom chat. It's also on the YouTube stream. And then we'll kick right into it.
I also have the agenda written on a document and I'm already taking notes. Do you want me to just share for you?
You're amazing. Yeah, why don't you actually just share your screen? That'd be perfect. There is some chatter about a POAP I see in the Zoom chat. I don't know. We'll see. Stick around. The point is, yeah, we'll see. Maybe if you stick around long enough, there might be a POAP. Sweet. So yeah, so just did a little kickoff intro for this. We're going to be hosting this bi-weekly. So, and this is not really meant to be like a status update, like come report your status, but more just like an open avenue to share ideas, share what you're working on, and maybe even like suggest things for future stuff that we can work on. So I'm excited to announce first, before we dive into going through all the different projects from last time, we have actually on our GitHub, on our Stakehouse GitHub, sort of a list of updates from previous calls, which we'll continually update. So we'll share the link for that afterwards. But before we dive into the stuff that we talked about last time, I want to announce something pretty exciting that SuperFizz has initiated, which is a open challenge to have one or hopefully more than one multi-client fully featured GUI ready for staking on Ethereum beacon chain by the beacon chain's birthday, which is December 1st. So I'm going to shoot you over the link to the tweet just so everybody has it for a reference. And maybe Sam, you can bring it up. Just 1 second. So just last week, I believe it was, SuperFizz tweeted, there you go, Sam, if you can just open that up real quick. A challenge to the Ethereum build community by December 1st to distribute a desktop-based staking UI that can run all 4 Genesis clients and switch between them easily. Let's see if we can get this done. So Sam here is the amazing PM that's been helping out with, yeah, nice icon change, has been helping out with some of the organization, also organizing these calls. I know of a few initiatives already in play to build tools like this. And so I think the best way to structure these calls for at least up until December is at the beginning, we can focus on GUI installers, and then we can talk about the other projects related to ETH2. And so I know we have a few people here on the call that are actually from some of these projects, but I'll just sort of list out the ones that I know of, and then feel free to raise your hand if you're also sort of working on something related to this. So the first one that I want to talk about is Dap Node. So Dap Node and Avado are building lots of tools around easing the setup of your node, and actually like even like a hardware tool where you can actually buy it and set up your node easily. Right now, they're only supporting the Prism client, but there are goals to support multiple clients. I think we have Lansky from Dapnode here.
That's right. Hey, everyone.
Awesome. Yeah. You want to just talk about Dapnode a little bit and sort of what it is, current state of the project, what it can be used for, and then what the goals are to.
Yeah, of course. So Dapnode was sort of born in 2017 with the objective to let people run nodes in their own home, to eliminate technical barriers. Actually, your pitch at the beginning of the call really reminded me of like our own pitch. So respect here. And it started with the goal to make networks more resilient while giving people the tools to be their own gateway to the Web3. So it is really a double benefit that we're getting. We're helping people that otherwise would not be able to, or that they couldn't be bothered, or that maybe they prefer to have something that's a little bit more easy and a little bit more UI based than just command line, which is what you had to do previously to run any sort of node. And that lets them be the owners of their own Web3 access. Because when you're using MetaMask, when you're using everything else, you're basically using Infura, and basically you're using Web3 the same way as you would be using Web2, by going to a centralized partner and say, hey, this is my transaction. Can you please bring it to your Amazon Web Service node that you have, and then broadcast it to the network? So you still got all these gatekeepers in place. On the other hand, if people can run nodes easily, networks become a lot more resilient. And in Ethereum 1, I don't think I need to explain here why they become more resilient. Let's just simply say that when you've got a few parties running nodes, and probably most of them running them in virtual private servers, if one particular government that mostly has jurisdiction over these companies, be it the Google Clouds, be it the Amazon Web Services, decides that Ethereum nodes are illegal and Ethereum is illegal, or that transactions, including DAI, are illegal, and therefore, if you have a node with DAI transactions or validating DAI transactions, you will become like illegal. That's a little bit what happened with the Stable Act. Which is never going to pass, hopefully. But all of this was sort of like if you have people running nodes. So if those nodes in VPSs need to shut down because you can go to companies and tell them you need to shut down those nodes, well, Ethereum is screwed. But if most of the nodes are in people's living rooms, in Nigeria, in China, in Japan, in Spain, in Argentina, then you can't really never shut Ethereum down. And the same thing happens with ETH2. Obviously, the advantage of Ethereum 2 is that actually the nodes are incentivized, especially the validator nodes. So it's easier to get to higher levels of decentralization when you have incentivization nodes. We've been talking about incentivizing nodes since the very beginning. Right. The same thing happens with staking pools and exchanges. If something having a legal figure behind that you can go and say, okay, you need to shut this down, undermines the resilience of Ethereum and any other proof of stake or delegated proof of stake network, or any network whatsoever. So we want these networks that we're working to be tools for freedom, tools for building a new future, a new better coordination, new better financial system, and who knows what else they can do. We don't want anybody that feels threatened by this new model to be able to censor this. And therefore, here we go. That's the whole point. Sorry, I was really long, and I hear like I'm preaching to the choir here. I'm sorry, guys. Definitely interrupt me. So what we've done.
I really appreciate the intro, because that basically sets the stage for why this whole challenge is very important. So that's like 100% welcome, and all that stuff that you said really informs, yeah, why we're all having these different projects that are working towards a multi-client UI. So now excited to hear more specific about Dapnode.
Right. Yeah, sorry about this. And yeah, completely agree. So what we're dealing with is the fact that we want to make it extremely easy for Dapnode users. Maybe I can share my screen and show you guys what it would take to run an Ethereum validator on Dapnode. So once you install Dapnode in your machine, are you seeing my screen? You're seeing some sort of Dap store situation?
Yep, we can see it.
Yep, looks
right
good.
on. So once you install Dapnode in your machine, Dapnode is literally like the machine where you're going to have your validator, and Dapnode is the layer that gives you this beautiful UI, so you don't have to. So you sort of like have it easier. Dapnode does not try to replace anything. Dapnode is simply a tool, as we said, to make it easier. So pretty much like what you guys are doing. And if I want to get a Prism node, I would go here. This repository is actually a smart contract. So it's reading from the Ethereum. You don't have to ever connect to a centralized server. We don't host servers. You're connecting to the Ethereum network. So we're going to go to install. I'm having a Geth node here. Actually, I'm having a Nethermind node. So I'm just going to change. Hey, voila. So now I accept, and now it's installing. What's doing right now, it's going to IPFS. An IPFS node is also included in Dapnode, and it's downloading the Docker image of the Prism. In the meanwhile, what we would do is we would do like all of this, and I'm really excited for getting rid of this with Wagyu, for example, because you would have to go through all of this. And one of the pain points that we have with our users is that they need to use command line at some point. It's not so seamless. There's people who are not feeling comfortable with command line at all. And here they would have to, they can skip that because we take care of the node. They can skip that because we've seen how easy it was to install the validator itself. But then here, yes, they would have to do this CLI app. But this is really a pain point for somebody. So once this is done, and we've generated the keys here, then we would need to, you guys are all familiar with this, we would need to drop the deposit data, we will need to make the deposit, and finally we'd have the Prism installed. Well, it has been installed. So now we have Prism's lovely UI on which we would just drop in here the validator keys. I can continue without it because Prism lets me. Just gonna put some crap. Didn't put the same crap. There we go. There's too many passwords here. And boom. And obviously here it's telling me the password is not right because I didn't even put a key store. But what would happen is I'm going to go to my Hermont nodes. And voila. And here you get your validator. So that's all you need to do. And the only time that you had to use the command line was when the in order to create the withdrawal keys and the validator key store with the password. So we got a lot of people coming over to us because of how easy it was. But there's a big problem. What's happening right now is that Prism built all this UI, right? So it was really easy for us to integrate them. But the other ones do not have a UI. And it is, as you can see, it would be very hard for us to integrate like a terminal screen here where the users have to include, like, this doesn't make any sense. So we basically need a UI that can talk with no matter what validator client, and it can be like sort of generalizable in order to start including other validator clients within Dapnode. We have a whole bunch of dApps here, and there's no reason at all why we wouldn't include the other clients, except that our target user will not use command line. So there needs to be a UI. And we're working with Lighthouse, and we're working with you guys to create those tools. And I really appreciate everything that you're doing, because by being in this open source world, we can benefit from that a lot. And that's going to be amazing. Also, thanks for Wagyu. I'm really looking forward to being able to include here, so we can just basically create a Wagyu package where the user would do that, would create the keys, no command line done needed, and then whatever they choose, whatever validator client they choose, they would be able to drop the key store there and follow the UI's onboarding flow.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for taking us through that. Yeah, agreed. I'm excited, first of all, for all the work that you guys have already done, and then also pushing the project like across line in terms of integrating these other clients and coming up with, like, I guess, more generic UIs that will help users interact with their underlying nodes for Lighthouse, Nimbus, and Teku, as well as the Keygen project, which I'll talk about, the Wagyu Key Gen project, which I'll talk about in a second. So I guess that's a good spin-off or jump-off point to the next project that I want to talk about, which is actually being worked on by the Stakehouse core team. And so part of what we're doing with Stakehouse is like trying to organize these community calls, get people talking to one another just like we are now. But also we are building some tools that we're sort of spearheading. And before I even do that, part of this, as I mentioned before, and sorry if I keep repeating myself, if any of this stuff interests you and you're on the call, or if you're watching the recording later and you want to help out with some things, I mean, we're super eager to grow the community and have people jump in and help out. It's all open source. We're all doing this as a collaborative effort. So reach out to me. I'm on, so probably the easiest way to find us is on the eStaker Discord at invite.gg/ethstaker, and come to the Stakehouse channel and just say hi. So without further ado, I will share my screen actually and talk about the Wagyu, basically the Wagyu installer and UI, as well as the Wagyu Key Gen Tool, which Lansky was just talking about. And Lansky, I know you need a drop at some point, so feel free to drop anytime. Thanks so much for joining. I think you're on mute.
I'm gonna stick around as much as I can, and but yeah, I might have to drop without saying bye. So thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Of course. So for Stakehouse, we have a few different projects in the works. I'm going to focus right now on the installer, since that's what we're talking about right now. We have a tool that we're calling Wagyu that is a fully featured installer that actually installs your node for you. I'll go through a quick YouTube video demo here. And installs and sets up your node. It's a desktop application. You can basically just double click, and similar to Dapnode, right now it actually just picks a random client for you. It supports all 4 clients. And it gets everything set up. It runs some initial tests on your system to make sure that you're good to go. And we're working on some more advanced features. You have to type in a password to install some system utils. And right now it only runs on Linux. It takes about 2 to 3 minutes to install. I speed through it a little bit for the purpose of the video, but now you can see your ETH1 node, your beacon node, and your validator are all installed, and they're syncing. And you can view the logs of like what's going on under the hood if you need to troubleshoot anything. And once your nodes are fully synced, we take you to the next screen, which is the deposit screen, which is similar to what Lansky was talking about with the Launchpad. And so we'll utilize the Launchpad for the actual deposit process, but we are also building a tool that, so taking a step back, right now your nodes are set up and they're synced, but you're not actually validating yet. And the 2 remaining steps are creating your keys, and then actually, or I guess 3 steps: creating your keys, executing your deposit on the Launchpad, and then actually importing your keys into your node. And so that's the part that we're really focusing on right now. And as Lansky mentioned, the deposit CLI tool is great for generating keys, but it requires you to use the CLI. And we have pretty well, we're well underway on building a tool that will make that even more accessible to non-technical users. And that's this Wagyu Key Gen Tool. And we decided, I think if somebody, I hear some background noise, maybe if somebody's not on mute, you can go ahead and mute. So the Wagyu Key Gen Tool is a separate tool from the actual like node management infrastructure, and its specific purpose is to wrap the ETH2 deposit CLI and allow you to create your keys through a UI. So I'll do just a super quick demo here too, because I don't want to take too much time. We deliberately, so eventually it's going to be a clickable bundle. And this is meant to be a portable tool on its own, so it can be used by other installers like Dapnode, and I'll talk about Ethereum here in a second. And there's a couple more, I think, by like Node Factory. But this is a very simple wrapper around the deposit CLI. Some general information here, which we're still fleshing out. You can either create a new mnemonic or use an existing mnemonic. This is just a fake mnemonic I have that's for running on Mac. When you run on Linux, it actually creates one. Some double checks. We need to actually, I didn't even copy it. I should listen to my own messages here. Make sure to copy this down. Type in your mnemonic. If you've ever used the deposit CLI, this basically goes through the same exact flow. Choose where you want to save your keys. I'll just pick a random folder. We're not actually generating keys right now since it's on my Mac, but again, when you run on Linux, it actually generates keys. And boom, when you click create, it takes a second to create the keys, and then it drops them in your folder. And so this tool we're really excited about because it can be utilized by multiple different projects, and even people that are running their nodes on their own, they can use this to generate their keys. So once this is ready, it should actually be ready here in the next couple of weeks. We want to get it audited and just allow people. We'll start off encouraging testnet usage, but eventually we're excited to have it be fully supporting mainnet. So the remaining steps, I guess, to go more to what our goals are and like where we're looking forward right now for the Wagyu installer, we need to build out the key importing piece. And we also want to rework some of the underlying node management infrastructure. So right now we actually forked the Rocket Pool installer, but in the interest of being totally decentralized and independent of like any other project or any other like dependency that's like developed by another company, what we wanted to do is we actually found there's a tool that's been developed by one of the eStaker community members called Docker, and we're actually going to substitute Docker as the node management infrastructure instead of Rocket Pool. So those are the main two focuses over the next couple weeks, and maybe I'll be able to share next community meeting. I'm going to come up with like a more granular step-by-step to-do list for like what we need to accomplish before December 1st. And then again, I'm hoping a few people have already jumped in. I want to shout out somebody named, there's this Squanch, I believe is the way you pronounce it. He's working on updating some
I feel like you're not watching Rick and Morty. Do you even watch Rick and Morty? This is important. Colfax. It's the Squanch. Very, very important.
I guess, wait, hold on, guys. I need to go watch Rick and Morty now.
Okay, it's pronounced Squanch. I got it for the notes. Thanks.
Perfect. Make sure to put that in there. Not at all. So the Squanch is working on some of the mnemonic generation terminology, and then also renaming mnemonic to secret recovery phrase, which is an update that came out of a chat with Akil and the Lighthouse team. And it seems like a lot of the focus in the space is changing like mnemonic to secret recovery phrase, which is a little bit more accessible to people and more descriptive. One other new community member that's helping out is this person named Rhythmic. I believe his name is actually Nick. And he already just sent a PR this morning about adding a progress bar to the bottom of the Keygen tool. So you have a little bit of a better idea of where you are in the process of generating the keys. So those are a few discrete updates. And for the Keygen tool, the main focus is just a few more UI tweaks and then tweaking the UX a little bit. And hopefully we'll have something that's ready for testnet testing and auditing here in a couple of weeks. So let's see here. I feel like I'm doing a lot of talking too, and similar to Superfizz, I sort of hate when there's just one person talking the entire time on a call. So feel free to chime in when I either mispronounce a character's name or if you have any questions. But without further ado, I guess a couple other projects that I know of that are moving towards being fully featured multi-client GUIs that I want to give a shout out to. I don't think we have anybody here from the Ethereum team today. Do we?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, maybe not. I've had some good chats with the Ethereum team. I believe their website is Ethereum.net. And I actually have just begun playing around with their node setup. So they have a pretty good graphical flow for taking you through setting up a node on a remote host. And they might actually be the closest to a fully featured graphical user installation, like install, and a little bit different in that they run on a remote host, but I'm excited for them to do a demo and talk more about their project when they join the next call, I believe. I think they said they can join maybe one later in August. And then another group that I want to give a shout out to, and hopefully, do we have anybody here from Node Factory?
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. Hey, nice to meet you. Can you talk a little bit about your project, Chain Guardian? I learned about it through Twitter, so I'm really excited to hear that you guys have made so much progress towards this.
Yeah, so like for those of you who don't know me, I'm Martin. Previously, I was CTO of Node Factory, but we got acquired by ChainSafe last week. So I am now the ChainSafe Europe lead. And yeah, we started developing Chain Guardian actually a year and a half ago, but at that time, like the beacon chain spec was changing rapidly, and it was like way too early to start something like that. It was initially funded by Moloch DAO, and like a couple of months ago, we started to ramp it up again, and now it's funded by Ethereum Foundation. And yeah, I'm also like maintaining the E2 API repo, so I'm like pushing strongly to the standard API across all clients. I actually managed to like screen record a demo like a couple of hours ago because it was a really short notice demo. So let me share my screen. And oh shit, system privacy.
Yeah, while you're bringing that up, anybody else who's watching this call, like if you're working on a project that's moving towards this direction as well, please reach out. Right now I'm distributing the Zoom link manually just so we don't have a bunch of people come and spam, but I'd love for more people to come present in future calls. So, all right, sweet. I see the screen now.
Yeah, great. Like I had a lot of issues like screen recording that because we didn't have like any synced node or actually keys. So we searched from some old keys from Paramount, and we're gonna display them here. So basically you can either run your own node or enter URL. Infura is supported as URL, as you will see later. Like initially I tried with Lighthouse, but it seems like it's not synced. We actually support both Lighthouse, Teku, and Nimbus, as they all support more or less the standard API. Prism is doing a lot of progress on the standard APIs, but they are currently like we are testing it internally. It still have some errors there. Those beacon nodes are actually like run as Docker containers, and they can be configured. Like a lot of stuff can be configured, especially like choosing the image version with our recommended version, and also ports and chain data location and all sorts of stuff.
This is incredible because it really looks like a lot of the building blocks that we need to get where we're going are kind of already there in a lot of places. So this is incredible. I'm really excited to see it.
So as you will see, like I hoped it will be nearly synced, but I was missing 800,000 blocks, which wouldn't sync in time. Damn. If I had more time, I would edit and speed up some stuff.
Not a worry, my friend. This is awesome.
Yeah, so it's on a like 1 million block. I think the latest is 1,800,000. So I've added the Infura, which is the first time we added Infura to actually test it out, and it worked like from scratch. Unfortunately, like our screen broke at certain places because of the long URL. Yeah. And now for adding validator, basically we can import stuff from Launchpad and from other clients, as well as the slashing data. We also have a code and screens for generating keys, but we disabled them until we got them audited. So like currently I'm uploading key store from some like old validator. I think it was 2 ethers in minus or something like that. And once it's imported and once we started, you can see the metrics and logs on all kinds of stuff. So like now it's decrypting, not confirming, but yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff we had from before, like the recent Ethereum Foundation grant is basically for adding metrics and multi-client support, which is nearly done, and we're planning to submit the milestone and also put it to the public for testing purposes. Yes, so this is the dashboard. Like when you add validator, you can choose whatever node you want. There is a plan for adding like fallback E2 nodes here. So you can actually like use your own local node and fall back to Infura node if your node goes down or runs out of space or something like that. And first time you start your, yeah, like the validator is in quite a minus, a negative balance. Yeah, first time you start it, it will ask you to import the slashing data, which you can also on your own risk skip it. It's basically to prevent you from getting slashed, but that validator was offline for so long that I just decided to skip it and it was fine. And oh man, I was so slow when recording this. But
no problem. This is yeah, this is super cool. So while this is going, I mean, do you guys have? I know maybe it's hard to tell since you can't always tell with open source software. But I guess do you guys have a ballpark of how many testnet and or mainnet users you guys have on this?
Not really. Like we had at some point like 50 users that were running on testnet. We still haven't enabled mainnet validating it. We need to run like long-lasting testnet runs, especially with now that we have multiple clients. We need to test like each client separately and not to release anything. Like we managed to test here, so like I got lucky and I tested as soon as I started the validator.
Cool.
And you also have your validator logs. Basically, the architecture of Chain Guardian is we are running the Lodestar validator, and we are running them against all different like big nodes, and we have like API adapter that like fixes the incompatibilities in API or and also provides a fallback and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, so for a remote beacon node, you can see your average response times and response code errors. And for a local node, you have a bit more metrics. Yeah, you have logs. Like from each client, I think like there's some issues here, probably Infura timeouting. And like hardware usage. And for metrics, we have like pool data, how much attestation there is in a node, how much connections does it have, and all sorts of pretty stuff. So yeah, that's mostly it. We still need some polishing and stability.
That's awesome.
I know. How do you like it?
That's really cool. This is super cool. I wasn't even familiar with the project until just yesterday. So great job with this.
Thanks.
Cool. So I guess the main things that are remaining for you guys to fully have mainnet support and all clients are, you said, more polishing and more testing and hardening, I guess, on testnets, right?
Yeah, I mean, like
I lost you a little bit. Is this me or is this?
No, I
There you go.
lost him too.
Sorry, we lost you for a
Oh.
second. Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying like multi-client support and those metrics are kind of like our short-term goal.
Cool.
Long-term, we kind of plan to figure out some sustainable source of funding, maybe provide some paid services like fallback beacon nodes or something like that.
Okay, nice. Awesome. Well, if anybody here wants to test out the software, we'll compile a list of links at the end that we can send out. And I encourage you guys to play around and test. I'm definitely looking forward to testing it myself.
We'll soon like release it. It has certificates, so it will be signed on all operating systems. You won't get those insecure messages, which were like scary
Awesome.
for something like that.
Exactly. Sweet. Well, nice work. That sort of, I guess, anybody else on the call that I hadn't talked to before that's working on also a multi-client UI? I think that just about rounds it up. So I'm super excited about this initiative. It's sort of a challenge against the clock and a big collaboration for how we can get as many tools out there as possible. In the same way that decentralization is important in terms of clients, it's also important in terms of like tools that we use to set things up. So I'm excited to get into the other projects and stuff that we're working on, and we can go through the updates from last week. But before I do that, the much awaited hour has come. We are distributing a POAP for this call. And if you are here, Michael/Envetica.eth should be DMing out POAP claim codes. If you are not familiar with what POAP is, now you are. POAP stands for Proof of Attendance Protocol, sort of dubbed, nicknamed bookmarks of your life. It's a little NFT badge that you get for doing certain things. We created a custom one. I did the very not very creative design on this one. Eventually, Envetica is going to, I'll rope him in to make more beautifully designed POAPs. But click the claim code, enter in your Ethereum address or your ENS, and you will now have your first or your nth POAP. If you are on the YouTube stream, we are not going to be distributing POAPs to YouTube streamers for now, but make sure to join the Zoom call next time. Just DM me for the link. Sweet. And while we say that, I'm actually going to claim my POAP real quick.
Yep. So
now moving.
All the claims, all the claims should be delivered now. Just to expand on that a little bit more, for those watching the live stream, I will have those ready as well with the POAP distribution via Discord. So those watching the live stream, the Stakehouse Discord URL is above us. Make sure if you aren't already joined the Stakehouse Discord to do so, as those will be where POAP distributions will happen in the future for the next call.
Sweet. So moving right along to the rest of the content here. Sam, can you share your screen back up and can we go through last week's updates?
Yep, sure thing.
Okay,
so
great.
just for folks that are new to this, so we do have a wiki on the Stakehouse GitHub repository, where I just dropped the current status. We've done about 2 so far over the last several weeks in this new format. And then when we go through these on these calls, typically the format we do them is I just drop it into a Word doc, we go through it, then I update it. So for people, we'll include this in the links too, but here's the latest on the updates from the team from each week.
Sweet. And so we'll compile the updates from this call and we'll update that going forward. So let's dive in here. So UI Key Gen Tool, this is the tool that I demoed earlier. Looking forward, the main things are, we basically already went through this. So, I won't repeat everything. Sam will help you compile some notes afterwards. The Wagyu installer is also the video that I showed you guys. So we'll go from there. We'll post updates there. Start stop button, that was complete last time. Gorley ETHbot, this is actually pretty cool. We completed this last time, but if you're interested in running a Gorley ETHbot on your Discord server, we made a tool that allows you to do that. So check that out on the Stakehouse GitHub. Avado Dapnode multi-client support. So this was what Lansky talked about at the beginning about their effort to create more GUIs and get more clients into Dapnode, which is pretty exciting. The ETH2Ks project. I don't think CY is here today, but this is an exciting project about creating more tooling around running nodes in Kubernetes. And I don't know exactly what their next goals are, other than, so it looks like last time they were working on supporting persistent volumes and redesigning some help configuration and data migration. So they maybe they'll join a future call and they can share more about what they're working on next. Another initiative that we're working on in Stakehouse is just creating a repo that has general utility scripts to help you do certain things. And so I haven't had a chance to actually build that. And I have a couple miscellaneous scripts that are useful for doing various things in Web3. But if anybody wants to go ahead and create that, reach out to me. I'm pretty focused on the installers right now. But if you'd like to, yeah, just get things going there, feel free to reach out. And as usual, supporting the eStaker community. I would say Stakehouse and eStaker are pretty much one and the same, and both focused on education and tools. And so Remy is super active on the eStaker Discord, helping people out. He can't be here today, but that's always much appreciated. Is there anybody here that has a project that they're working on that they'd like to share what they're working on and sort of what their goals, their next goals are for the project? Cool. I think we probably have everything already covered. Now, the next thing, and I'm really excited about this, is like talking about future ideas for like future projects that we could work on and other things that would be valuable for the space. So does anybody here have any ideas for like future projects that we can throw out to the community, and maybe we can find some people that are excited about working on them?
See, my friend, this is when you're like, I'm doing all the talking. Where is everyone? I'm here for you. I hear you.
Thank you. Thank you. I see Camille wants to chime in, but I can't seem to hear her. I think you're just sorting out your mic. While you're doing that, I'll just do a little bit more talking, and feel free to interrupt me, Fizz. As you can see here, this is an open forum for people to share projects they're working on, share ideas, and collaborate. So if you have any friends that have some ideas or projects that you think would be in line with what we're talking about here, please invite them next week. And, or sorry, 2 weeks from now, we'll post the schedule publicly, and excited to, yeah, sort of see how much more stuff we can talk about here.
Yeah, I think there are going to be a lot of people who kind of say, hey, I'm working on something that is like that, or is either the same or complementary. And I think it's going to be difficult to get the word out and get everyone in the same place. But when we get everyone kind of working in the same direction, then there's an opportunity to like mix and match and switch and trade and really just get everyone's product going in the right direction. And so that's really the thing I see happening here, and I'm very excited about it. So thank you, Colfax, for setting up the call, and mostly to Michael for providing the POAP. That was a joke, sorry.
Although I do support it, the POAP is pretty great. Camille, were you able to sort out your mic by any chance? No, I don't seem to be able to hear you. No worries. So we did have a chat on Discord beforehand, so I'll do my best to try and explain what your idea was and go from there. And maybe if your mic comes back, you can chime in some more. But you were talking about how there should be more tools that help people collaborate. Did I hear a mic come in? No. To help people collaborate on sharing a validator. And so it sounds like you know of cases where you have a few people that are staking together. And if there's a way that like through a smart contract you could secure like the distribution of rewards to different addresses, And like, say whenever an attestation happens, the awards can be claimed by like a certain address that is participating or something like that. Do I see you? It now looks like you might be. No, I don't think your mic is still working, but basically the idea of like, if there was a smart contract that could help with like revenue splitting from a validator, I think that was the gist of what you were trying to say on Discord. And I think that's a pretty interesting idea. And I don't really know sort of what else you had in mind there, but I just wanted to mention what you mentioned to me beforehand.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'm so sorry. Okay, so I have had a validator online for about a month, but I did the Ethereum Study Master. Thank you so much, Supervision and Vetica. You're amazing. And I'm so grateful for all of you for making this like more accessible for the non-technical people. I was posting in my Instagram story that I was doing this Ethereum Study Master, and my cousin reached out to me and he was like, I'd love to help you build a computer, but he had like no idea about Ethereum. Now he is kind of obsessed, has all of his like friends obsessed. He lives in Austin. He works a 9 to 5 and is getting married in October, but he like really wants to help build these things because he got my validator online, and then he's now working on, he did 2 more, all solo stakers, and now he's working on the 3rd, and it's kind of like branching out to people that he doesn't necessarily trust. So if there was like a way to kind of make like the initial deposit into a contract, and then like he would like front the money for hardware, and then once like it's built, then you know they make the 32-week deposit, spend some time like in a video chat, and then as soon as that validator makes its first attestation, then the like payment is, you know, released back to him. So I feel like this, for me at least, it was just like hugely helpful to have it kind of walk through like a one-on-one experience with him, like just going through all, I'm like a kinesthetic learner. So like reading these things is hard, and like the Launchpad was great, but having him kind of walk through the process with me made it so much easier. And yeah, I'm just hoping to like bring more people on as solo stakers, and if it's just like a little bit easier that way. Yeah,
that's a great suggestion. Hopefully some of the tools that we're working on will make it even easier, so you wouldn't even need an additional person like help set up the hardware. Like you can buy some pre-configured hardware and then use one of the tools that we were demoing earlier to actually like set up your node and stuff. But that's definitely a great suggestion. And I guess as far as like what's available now, I mean, like Avado is available now, which is actually a machine that you can buy that comes with the Dap store that Dapnode Lansky demoed earlier. And also the eStaker community, the eStaker Discord is super helpful for answering questions and sort of guiding people through. That's where I learned everything that I know about staking. So
I have been and I'm a big supporter of Dapnode and Avado, but I don't talk about them publicly because they're single client right now. And really when we bring new people online for staking, we want them to consider clients like Teku, Nimbus, and Lighthouse. And so I understand very much where Dapnode and Avado are coming from, that they use Prism because it has the UI. But at the same time, as our message is primarily client diversity, I can't publicly promote them until they support all the clients. So with that said, they're still great options. They're incredible. Like I have one running, but until they are multi-client, I can't publicly like endorse them, because essentially what that is increasing the market share of Prism. And that's something that we're working on. We're not working against the market share of Prism. We're working to promote the market share of other platforms.
Yeah, and a more even distribution of like which clients are being used. And right now that means we need to increase the usage of Nimbus, Teku, and Lighthouse. Sweet. Well, thanks so much for sharing, Camille. And I'm hopeful that the eStaker community can help out with any like ongoing challenges or anything you have with your node. And I'm super excited that you are now running a validator. It's super, congratulations.
Thank you. So excited.
Awesome. Well, that pretty much wraps up everything that I wanted to talk about today. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining. Again, this will be a bi-weekly call, so we're going to do it every other Wednesday at 4 p.m. UTC. That is 12 p.m. for folks on the East Coast in the US, where I'm based. And so, yeah, please invite friends to the next one, share ideas, share projects that you're working on, and encourage your friends or even yourself if you're interested to get involved and work on some of these open source projects. It's pretty exciting and a great way to get involved in the Ethereum community and contribute to what we think are going to be very beneficial tools for the health of the beacon chain. So
did you suggest the next call there's going to be like some kind of map or plan for how this is going to fit together? Am I correct in that assumption?
Yes, you are. So I am personally going to make a plan for the Wagyu tool suite, that being like the Wagyu installer and the Wagyu Key Gen Tool, to map out sort of a roadmap and a plan for what we need to do that's remaining to get our challenge accomplished, which is a multi-client, fully featured UI, soup to nuts, without the command line, to get your validators up and running. Very excited about that. I'll have a timeline, and then also for other tools that need the actual keygen part, you're more than welcome. And I actually encourage you to use our keygen tool once it's ready as well. And anybody else who's working on that challenge, if you can come next time with sort of a roadmap and a plan for what you need to do to get across the line, that would be great. We can share those first thing.
Awesome. Thanks again, everyone.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye-bye.